David, we see Alex out there, so good sign for him tonight.
It's a good sign, and we'll see how he feels after today, after the
Yeah.
morning skate, yeah.
Any other possible lineup changes from last game, or likely the same?
Maybe, again, a couple things that we're going to iron out here this morning from a health standpoint, so we'll see.
And should we expect Kevin to get a shot with Timo and Tommy tonight?
Yeah.
The other day, you said that Eric likes playing with Magna. You tried him with like almost everyone else before you went back to that.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that whole process like?
Well, I think I've touched on this before. I think when you're putting a lineup together, every move affects other moves. So when we looked at the totality of our decor, we just thought that was not only probably the best pairing with Eric, but probably the best pairings with our 6Ds. So, that was there were a lot of things that went into that process, and we just thought, create some stability. These pairings probably give us the best chance.
I mean, nothing against Jacob, but I don't think anybody necessarily from the outside is going to say that he's your second best defenseman. So, just have you, in your past dealings, have you taken your number one guy and put him with maybe a non-traditional partner?
No, but to me, you look at the defensive core you have, and you're trying to match up and have the best pairings that give you a chance to win every night. So I think every circumstance is different, and this, as we went through training camp and early parts of the season, we were learning our group and learning who has played well with others, and that this gives us, in our opinion, the best chance to win.
He hasn't. I'm trying to remember that he hasn't gone over 23 or 24 too much. I mean, it seems like that's a pretty obvious, you could play him 30 minutes a night, given the way that he seems like he's playing, but it seems like you're trying to not do that.
Well, you could, but is it going to be counterproductive, right? I mean, and one of the things we've tried to do is put him in better positions offensively. He's not killing penalties because we feel like we've got enough depth, and our penalty kill hasn't suffered. And I think, when you're playing 24 minutes, your energy level is higher than when you're playing 30. It's just, I don't care what type of shape you're in. And, you're getting 24 outstanding high-energy minutes compared to 30 minutes of, it may look good because you got the name on the back of the jersey out there, but you're not getting the same players. So I think it's a managing act from a coaching standpoint. And, as he and I talked about, our job is to put our players in the best position to have success. And, we think this is the best way to go about it.
You mentioned Eric liking to play with Jacob. We talked with Logan last week about sort of him and Barabanov and just how excited he was to play with Alex. How much input do you kind of give your star players on that? Because from what I understand, in New York, you also talk to your guys and hey, who do you want to play with? And there's sort of that idea of that was an important part of your decision making.
Yeah, I think that's, you've got to take the input from your players. I think that doesn't mean they have the final say, but it's a big part of your decision-making process, and I think it's a give and take in a player-coach relationship. And, they need to feel ownership of what's going on, and if things don't go well, you give them their opportunities, and, I think it gives you, a more solid relationship with your players when you're taking their input. And as I've told them all, I'll listen, but that doesn't mean we're going to do what you want, and I'll give you a reason if we decide not to do what you're looking for, that hopefully gives you clarity on why we're not doing what we're doing. And we may bring up points that you don't really realize as you're sitting there as a player, because it's just, I'm sure as a player I was thinking that we should be doing something, and the coach had a much better explanation to why we were or weren't doing it. So I just think that's part of the process.
And, going back to Eric and his hot start, 9 goals in 12 games, I mean, just where does that stand just in terms of just how hot a hand he has and just your coaching history or just what you've seen? I mean,
I don't even want to talk to him.
I actually want to ask him a Super Bowl pick. So that's
yeah, exactly. It actually reminds me of right before when COVID hit, when Mika Zibanejad was on an incredible, torrid pace. He was leading the NHL in goals per game. He had a 5-goal game against Washington, 2 games before the COVID hit, and it really reminds me of that. Mika was everything he was shooting was going in, but he was doing all these other things that you needed to do. And, I think Carl's last 3 games have been his best games of the year all around. Not only have you saw what he can do from an offensive perspective, but I think his play away from the puck has really been elevated.
After the first period, you have to tell us what you said, or did you say anything? Sometimes coaches just let the guys figure it out. Did you feel that you needed to address it?
All I talked about was, listen, how important is winning and losing to you? That's all I said. So we're down 3-2. You're going to make a decision, right? We probably played as bad a period as we've played all year, and a lot of that had to do with the way Anaheim played. But you have a decision to make right now. How important is winning and losing to you? And I said it in exactly that tone. And I said, you're going to get in your car tonight about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and you're going to get what you deserve. You're either going to, elevate your mental and physical effort, or you're going to accept playing the way we are, and you will lose if we continue to play like this. So, but there was also talk about that before I had gotten in there. I was wrestling with not even going in, but I just went in and, basically just said it in that tone and that manner. And at the end of the day, winning has to matter to you. How bad does it matter to you? And, there's no easy games in this league. I don't care what anybody's record is, and they got they got good players over there in Anaheim. They got some offensively gifted players, and if you're not on top of them and you're not committed to playing defense, you're going to give up 6 goals, and that's kind of what happened. So, I was proud that we've recovered, not to the level I thought we needed to, but we did turn it around to a certain degree and gave ourselves a chance.
You mentioned how the defensive coverage has improved and how it's bore out by the stats, and just sort of wondering what you credit to that in terms of the players, what they've done, and also correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like you guys are going with more zone last year was a little bit more man-to-man, and so how have the players adjusted to that?
Well, I think we're defending the puck harder. I don't care what system you have. When you've got players that when they're in a one-on-one situation, they're defending the puck hard, you have a much better chance to get help. So, if I'm defending a guy hard and he's got his back to the middle of the rink, you can help him. If you're loose with your man-on-man, with your coverage when you're defending the guy with the puck, he's got eyes up, he can make a play, you're less apt to get help. And, one of the things we try to do is keep the play on one side of the ice, don't let him get to the middle of the rink and get it to the other side 5-on-5. And if you defend the puck hard, you're going to have a much better chance to get people in their places to get help. And that's what we have done a pretty good job of this year.
And I think maybe underrated in that too is when people think about team defense, they think about just the defenseman, right? But obviously Mike added a lot of very veteran, smart two-way forwards, and they help in that account too. Right?
It's a 5-man unit. But the thing I like is our D are getting to their guys. When the puck goes from the middle of the rink to the perimeter, I think we're getting there quickly, so teams don't have a chance to get second sets in the offensive zone. And one of the things that if you're going to have success in this league and not spend a lot of time in the ring, when a shot's taken and the puck goes to perimeter, you got to get to people quickly, not allow them to get a second set in the offensive zone. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that throughout the season so far.
But the other thing you've preached from day one of training camp, it's defense doesn't start in your end.
No, it doesn't.
You guys have been really good at turn the puck over.
Yes.
You got to get on, guys. Shrink the ice. Try to take.
And we're getting there. And I actually had a conversation.
You talk about defending the lines.
Defend the lines. It's not and we're getting better at it. We weren't great at it against Anaheim. I thought we had lost our way, but it's funny because if you don't defend lines and you let people come up the ice, it's amazing how many times you'll sit as a group. Well, what happens if this happens? There's hockey. There's a lot of scenarios that happen. You can't coach it all, right? They've got to understand. They got to play hockey, and when you're on top of people, there's not a lot of questions because, there's clarity on what you need to do in certain situations. And, that's kind of what happened over the last 3 games. I thought Toronto, Tampa, and even long stretches in the Vegas game, we were doing what we needed to do, whereas there were long stretches in the Anaheim game. We weren't doing what we needed to do and playing the way we've kind of created a little bit of an identity here over the last 5-6 games.
So tonight is sort of a chance to make this statement that they didn't lose the plot or the script from those 3 games against Toronto.
Yeah, and we covered some things yesterday and we needed to. It was a half-hour practice, and we touched on a couple of things that we need to get better at. And again, the video session and whatnot, it's all learning. It's not about being critical, and it's still early. We've played 12 games. You know, this team got together October 1st. You know, it's November 3rd or 2nd, I don't even know the date, but it's been a short period of time, and you know, we're gonna keep getting better. And 82 games, you take a step back every now and then. And as we touched on when we lost our first 5, teams go through it, you know, and St. Louis has lost 5 in a row. Pittsburgh's lost 6 in a row. This just happens. We happen to have ours in the beginning of the season, and you know, I'm anxious to get going tonight because I feel confident that we're going to pick up where we were and not have the stretches that we had against Anaheim.